WAOS fans!
It's the agents of Warcry!
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 Yes, we're here. This is a quick talking head, our first Warcry talking head. For those of you who are recent followers to us, hello and thank you for joining us. And we basically, every now and again when we play Warhammer Underworlds, we'll have a little chat about the state of the game, what we think's good, what we think's bad, what we've been enjoying, and all that kind of stuff. If there's any new news, we do a little talking head.
We chuck our opinion out. Some people like hearing it, other people don't, and most people, are fairly indifferent. So we think we'll do it anyway, regardless.
Yeah, and at this point, Warcry is all news. Everybody's after Warcry news, so we thought we'd do a quick overview of our first few. We've had a few games of it now, and we want to talk about our experiences of the game.
Yeah.
So, far away, Pete.
Yeah, so I think we've played 3 games now. You've probably only seen the first one when this has come out. The second one will be out on our Patreon account. And we've got the third one in the can ready to start working on. And I think we've got enough experience now to be able to form a few opinions of this game. We've played our first campaign game and all that kind of stuff.
It's never stopped us in the past having opinions without any expertise whatsoever. So, yeah.
Definitely true. We've had a crack at Kill Team in the past. We've played several of their systems. And I think this one's probably one of their best easy to pick up systems so far. I would agree with that. I think it's really going to depend on what you're looking for in a game. Yes.
I don't know if I haven't watched it all the way through yet, but I don't know if you've seen the Guerrilla Miniatures. They did a similar thing to this, but it went on for over an hour, talking about what they liked and didn't like about the game.
Yes.
And one of the guys I had on there just slayed it, basically.
Was it Ash or was it the other guy? I think
There's
a guy who has his own channel, something with the gaming with the cooler, I think.
Yeah, him. It was him.
The taller guy.
Yeah,
of the two,
but he was they were both sat down. But so...
But you know who Ash is, Ash Barker.
Well, I don't really.
Do you know who Ash Barker is? The guy with the beard.
Yes, I do. I did know that was him, but I because I don't watch as much YouTube as you do. I didn't really know who he was. I've been watching them I've been watching their battle reports, but I hadn't really seen him because it kind of like.
Well, quite often he's behind the camera. I guess.
Well, exactly. So,
but we digress. This is what we do on this. But anyway. I think he wasn't a massive fan because he didn't like the fact that it's quite simple in terms of mechanics.
Yeah, and he talks about the fact that if you're doing something, because the game's all about action economy, if you bog somebody down, like engage them, then they basically have to disengage, and then they're losing a action. And he didn't like that, and but he seemed to be looking for a very different game. It was quite interesting. He clearly was looking at it from a kill team point of view, and the granularity in kill team and all that. And I was looking at it, I suppose, from a Warhammer Underworlds point of view. He was sort of saying it was very simple. It's just kind of like you move and you attack, and then you can't change in the weapons. So he wasn't very happy with the campaign side of it. So you can't change the weapons. There's not much customizability. Yeah. Now, of course, Underworlds, the fighters are the fighters. There's no. They don't change the weapons at all unless you give them an upgrade. Exactly. So I mean, there are obviously the cars do change that slightly, but I very much feel that it is kind of like, if you like Underworlds, you might like war games. Try this. It's kind of almost like a step up. Yeah. In some ways, not in other ways, to a more. To a more wargame experience, but I also feel that this is very much aimed at people who enjoy your X-Wings and your other small skirmish games. Frostgrave. Yeah. And I think this is what it's appealed. This is for busy people with busy lives. Yes. Parents. But it gets you that fix. The terrain is beautiful. Yeah. The models are awesome. With the new range of contrast paints, frankly, I've been able to crack out some of these models in record time. And you can get stuff ready and on the table, and if you watch our battle reports, you'll hopefully start to see our models become more and more colourful as the games go on. You can really get this game down quickly. You can. I mean, I would say if you've not played before, the scenery it's quite a lot to paint. If you're not a painter, there's quite a lot of paint. Of course, that's another thing. I think this guy was also he very much coming from the side of the modelling, painting. There's not much to do kind of thing. But actually, you haven't got as much modelling to do. But if you're coming from the Underworld side, I'm always modelling me. When you've got up to every weekend, beard, isn't it? It's Kate Moss's, come on, love, let's go out. You've got. It's a step up. There's loads. There's a massive step up, really. And I have found try and get these done ready for battle reports. As you can see, I failed to get them all done. In amongst busy life, that is quite hard. Yeah. However, it is quite easy to paint, and with the contrast paint, and possibly even just an ordinary box standard wash over a spray, it looks damn good anyway. Yes. Yes. So I think in the ranking of. I think in the ranking of things, you've definitely got Underworlds first. That's the easiest, obviously, because you've just got
between 3 and 9 models, and that's it. There's no terrain. You've just got boards. I think this comes next, very close behind it. I mean, it's a massive ramp up on the model side of things because they're not push fit. They are quite fiddly in some instances, and the terrain's not push fit either. But the rule system is much easier than AOS or 40k.
Well, the mechanics is very simple, isn't it? I mean, it is basically move, attack, do damage.
You can disengage, and you can. I do like the little sheet that you've got with your abilities, which gives you extra things to add to movement, to add to attacks, to give you.
Yeah, but the slight flip side to that is that pretty much Rampage is the best one, and you kind of almost want to get a quad every turn. Which that's surprising because a quad is hard to get.
Yeah, and you've got to roll a triple to start with at least to be able to get a quad out of that.
I do like it. I find it has a few limitations.
I think the campaign system is possibly a little simplified because it especially in the early games, it really doesn't matter if you have someone die because you can just refill your roster. You can get rid of the dead people. You can put new people in. There's no having to. It's not like Necromunda and stuff. But in some ways, that's really good because it means if you have a couple of crappy games early on, you're not sitting there and like Blood Bowl as well. If you end up with a load of casualties really early, you're not crippled and then unable to really get anywhere, and then you have to just give up on it and start again. This really is a sort of a very easy-going game. You lose a couple of guys, doesn't really matter that much. You can crash on. If your boss dies, he doesn't actually die. It's just a bit more of a friendly game.
And I like that. I mean, I've seen a lot of people kind of talking about it online, and there's people who are sort of saying, "Oh, not loadouts, but should I buy multiple boxes so I can put different
warband
configurations together?" Now that's an interesting one. I don't really feel like it lends itself to that particularly because you need for a start the cards are the cards and they have the photos of the fighters
models on them.
So I mean obviously you can double up and triple up with the multiple cards, but I kind of feel like it doesn't really lend itself to that, and I like that because I like to be able to play at this stage of my life straight out of the box, not have to worry about it. Not okay. I've got a couple of choices in the Iron Guards, but I don't care. I just want to play. Yeah, I'm not bothered about min-maxing.
What the ultimate loadout is and stuff. And I don't even know if it really lends itself to that kind of style that much because you've only got 1,000 points, and the guys who are really good, they're going to be like 150, 250 points. So if you start taking a couple of the really good fighters, you're really going to start losing out. Now, in a campaign...
it may be even that you just want to take like loads of little guys.
Yeah.
I think that was the gist of what the Guerrilla Religious say, because it's the ones with lots of little figures, because it's about ball control.
Yeah.
And...
possibly, but then the little guys are quite weak because I mean we've seen some of the other warbands like the skeletons and stuff like that. They've got really low wound counts, they've got really low toughness. So one of your big guys could probably storm in and could probably smash one apart with every hit if you're a little bit lucky.
True,
and you're going to start just wading through people left and right.
Yeah. But I don't know because you get glory points for taking out multiple. So if you've got more, that's harder. Some of them are objective control, so if you've got more, that's easier to gain them. If you've got if you've got high-powered figures, that's quite hard to.
That is true.
But
you can only take up to 15.
That's true. You can only take 15. That is a good point.
Now we'll have to try that at some point. I've got some skeletons, so maybe I'll just have to try and create an entire. Just 15 model skeleton warband and see what that's like on the tabletop.
I'm slightly perplexed with the leader thing, and this come back into the strength and weakness of these cards. These cards are the cards.
Yeah,
and
that's it. There's no change.
There's no change in them. So you basically only have these. If you're a Iron Golems player, you can only have a combination of these 7 or 8 different people, and that strikes me as a bit odd, particularly since your leader. If you didn't want to take him, I think you have to. You have to take the Dominar. As far as I can tell, you have to take the leader. You have to take the one with the leader thinking. And I think that's a bit of a shame because I think any of the others could be the leader. There's no reason. Well, you're creating your own narrative. I wanted to create a narrative that Doris, the drill master, was my leader because these are the drill masters, and I actually think she's a really good fighter, and I wanted to have her as my leader, and I can't.
It would be quite cool because I'd quite like to take my beast speaker and then have multiple rock tusks.
Yeah.
And then have like a wild cat sort of pack of wild cats.
So that's a limitation. I feel like there ought to have been in the tokens an extra leader thing that you could basically stick on the card. And say this is my leader.
Or when you're creating your roster, you can just put whoever you want in your leader / chosen warrior slot, and they are your leader.
I kind of almost feel like you want extra cards so this fit, so you can't see it because we're on but like a leader card, and you stick the card in the leader box.
Yeah,
so that becomes, then that's the leader, an extra bigger card for the leader. You just stick your playing card in it or something. Because the other weird thing is the weapons going forward. I'm waving my fingers as usual, but nobody can see that. The customization, you can't customize it, but actually it would have been quite nice to have weapons upgrades like you do in Underworlds. You could easily do it. They could easily
can you pick up any artifacts?
I don't know.
You're looking.
I don't know. I haven't checked through. So I'm one of those people. I don't like to read what the artifacts are because I don't want to spoil it.
Oh yeah,
I want to read it. Go, oh wow, that's
the best artifact in the world. I'm never going to get it now.
Well, exactly. But I feel like they could easily have just had the weapons separate on cards. You slide under your leader, and so you could choose to give it just a bit more flexibility.
I guess the problem with that is different weapons will have different capabilities, so we're going to have to cost points. So they're going to have to be pointed separately.
That's true.
And then you get that extra level of overhead.
True. Maybe it's just the extra granularity that you just don't need. But even then, it wouldn't have been that hard because they could have just had the points value on the side of the weapons. The weapon could have gone under there, and that would have been 20 points. So it would have been 100.
True, but then you've got another level of bookkeeping. Your leader's 160. This weapon's 20 points. That's 25 points.
You're right. It does massively reduce the accessibility of it. I just feel like there's no option to do that now.
The other problem you've got as well is your leader. You know, my beast's leader. He's got this ruddy grey axe in his hand. So that's his weapon on his profile. But if he had a different option, which was like a big spear or something, the miniature itself doesn't have that spear.
Well, then you have that WYSIWYG
and people will be moaning about that as well.
Which of course you don't have in Underworld, and you can put upgrades on them, and it all works fine.
And in this, you don't really have that problem either because everybody's got what they've got. So there's no real confusion.
No, and that is good. So I do contradict myself slightly because that is good. I do like the fact that it is just play out the box. I don't think I would ever buy extra boxes so that I could take multiples of these figures. I don't.
Not sure I would. I might. It'd be nice to try on occasion, but for the sake of paying £30 just to get a couple of extra models, I don't think I would.
And that may suggest be a limitation of the game, is that I don't care enough to change things around.
That is true.
I mean, I suppose it could be interesting. You've got a roster of 20 men, and maybe because the Iron Golems I quite like, but they don't really sing to me. Maybe if I've got a set that do, maybe I really like the ciphers, and I might find them actually really fun to play with additional.
Bear in mind as well, when you get up to several zones controlled, you can get up to about 300 extra points you could be bringing along in a game. So that's like an extra breacher.
Well, true. Aren't they thralls though as well?
I can't remember. Yeah, there might be thralls.
You can do that. That's true. But at the same time, again, contradicting myself, I'm slightly concerned that there is no other way to buy extra Iron Golems other than buying a whole new set at the moment.
Yeah.
Now, maybe they'll bring out a box of them, but I don't want the same. I don't want to buy the same ones again.
Yeah, they're probably almost definitely going to be the same as well.
Yeah.
So that is a bit of a limitation. But I think part of where this game might shine again, though, is the fact that you can buy multiple warbands relatively easy, and you've got very little startup with them. You can buy a box of the Cypher Lords or whatever, or a box of
the ground running, which is much better than Kill Team, where you could buy the boxes that said that they were Kill Team and they weren't remotely the Kill Team.
Oh yeah, that was really annoying. You got a whole chunk of terrain which a lot of people might not even want, and then you get like 5 or 6 models which doesn't actually add up to 1,000-point kill teams. You're like, brilliant! I've got a third of a kill team or half a kill team.
Yeah.
But then the other problem with Kill Team was the fact that even in the base box you added up the points of the 2 warbands in there, and they didn't come up to like 1,000 points either.
Yeah,
so that was quite irritating.
Think on balance, I do really like the fact that this is just play straight out the box. And so I might miss the customisation a little bit. Well, again, as I say, I contradict myself because I don't want a lot. It would just be nice to maybe swap. And I said that about Underworld at the beginning. It might be nice to swap the odd figure in and out, and more easily than it is to do. But I completely agree with you that running multiple warbands is going to be really fun, and I'm really looking forward to having it. Even though I think the narrative thing is that strong, though I quite like the fact that it doesn't rely on you always having to play the same people all the time. You can just go to a shop and play anybody who's roughly the same level as you. It should balance out.
Yeah. Or like what we do, we can just pick up 3 or 4 more warbands, and we can just come up with different ones each week.
That's brilliant. That's what I was just going to say. I'm really looking forward to doing that. I'm quite excited about doing that and having like me playing 3 or 4, you playing 3 or 4, and then we can basically have 8 consecutive campaigns going on and intersect them and play. And I think that'd be really nice. I really like the idea of bringing some Stormcast into it. I haven't actually got the models, but I really do like the idea of it.
Actually, you've got the fast riders, that probably gives you half of your.
That's true, because actually they're about gajillion points each, aren't they? So
and I've got some undead, I've got some skeletons, so I'll probably be able to fill a warband of them.
And it's our plan, as long as people keep watching, to keep buying the new warband. So we're going to get we've got the Cypher Laws on order. In fact, we've probably already got them by the time you're watching this.
By the time you listen to this, we might already have them in our sweaty little mitts.
Yeah, and
we're going to be getting the Splintered Fang and the Corvus Cabal and the Unmade.
The Unmade. Yeah, you're the undead.
Undead
Unmade
like
guy.
them.
So I think it's like a lot of Games Workshop core sets. You kind of have to take it not with a pinch of salt, but like the AOS core set was lovely, but it wasn't the real game, and
it was a starter, wasn't it?
Exactly. The Kill Team starter set wasn't the real game.
No.
And this quite probably isn't going to be the real game, because the game between the Corvus Cabal and the Cypher Lords is going to be completely different, and you're going to start changing the way of the game.
But the difference with this is, at least with Warcry, you do have 2 full warbands out the box. You do have all the terrain.
Yeah.
You have everything to play a full game.
You can completely
play. You can expand it with the other warbands very easily. And I do like the cards. One thing we haven't touched on is the cards that give you the twists and the deployments.
That's really nice.
There's like 20-30 cards for each thing. So I can't remember what the combinations were, but there was like 3 million something stupid like that.
And they can easily change that up as well. They can do another pack of cards.
And in fact, you buy new terrain now, and you'll get new terrain layout packs in there. I don't know if it covers deployments as well, but it covers the layouts, and I really like that aspect, because it makes you. Obviously, you don't have to follow it. You don't have to do it if you really don't want to, but I don't see why you wouldn't, because it really does make the game quite different.
And the terrain looks amazing. I'm definitely, once I've got over the pain of painting all this, I'm going to get another one of the terrain boxes, so we can play other terrain, because I just love the terrain.
I do like terrain. When I was a kid, I never had the money to have the right terrain, so I always had just egg boxes.
But when we were kids, it was so much harder, because you had to pretty much scratch build it all, because you couldn't buy
there was no
stuff.
terrain. Now you've got kids these days. I don't know how lucky they are. You've got all this beautiful terrain.
I was thinking exactly that today when I was moaning in my head about painting it, because it was quite not as arduous, but there's just a lot to do, and I was thinking, this terrain's amazing. I've got to paint it. I was thinking, previously I'd be like trying to do it with a box of matches, trying to build terrain,
and just thinking this looks rubbish. It doesn't look like anything like what they've got.
Stuck to the bucket.
Yeah. So the terrain's brilliant. The models are fantastic. It can be a bit of a pain to assemble, but that pain is quickly passed once
the golems were not a problem at all to assemble. I would just say that.
Some of the beastie ones were quite. There's one with a whip that was quite spindly, but even then fit fairly well. There was a couple of models. The one with the spear, because the rope actually goes from the body to the spear itself, and that was, so you've got to get 2 connection points to get that working, which was a bit fiddly. But even then, overall, it wasn't that bad.
No, the golems were fine, and I quite often with my Underworlds models had big cracks appearing in the middle of them, but I didn't have that with these.
And I think overall the game mode itself, whilst it does play simpler, I like that overall. I like the fact that you can sit down. There's not a million things you've got to remember. There's not things that carry on phase after phase. Apart from the twist cards. The twist cards continue on for a number of turns,
the individual play experience, for me, we didn't play a lot of Kill Team, but this is far more enjoyable than Kill Team, because for Kill Team there was an awful lot of what's that weapon, what does that do, and this isn't. It's very, very clear.
Very simple. And it was like, is it at short range, is it at long range? If it's at long range, then you end up with more negatives to your hit, so you roll a billion dice to start with and you end up doing 1 wound. Whereas on this one, you roll 2 or 3 dice, you end up doing 6-8 wounds sometimes,
or none.
And that was something else. That was something else we didn't cover, which was there's no saving throw now, and I like that.
I think that's really good, because there's nothing more frustrating than people finally getting to do damage when you're weaker fighters, and just gonna save it. It's very annoying.
Yeah, and it in Kill Team, I know we're putting a lot of comparisons there, but in Kill Team you've got to roll to hit, you've got to roll to wound, you've then got to roll to see if that wound is a mortal wound or whatever it was, and that kind of thing. Then they get to roll to save, so you got to roll like 4 dice just to find one thing. Whereas in this, it's just
much sleeker and slicker.
Yeah, you roll 4 dice or whatever, and that's it. You haven't got to roll.
There's no 6s. There's a couple of 5s. I've done some damage.
Exactly, I've done 10 points of damage. That's not enough to kill you because you've got 20 wounds, but it's enough to make you think, I might need to do something with that next time.
So it does give me, because I think, again, people are talking about, it's not got much in-depth strategy. I feel like people confuse strategy with
lots of dice
army building
and lots of rules.
Well, yeah, exactly. Because it's kind of like you haven't got the strategy in the army building like you have in Kill Team, but that is kind of like I feel like people equate. Can I build a killer army before I even turn up at the table?
Yeah.
To just defeat whatever opponent I'm given? And not everybody plays like that. In fact, probably a lot of people don't. But I feel like the people who are moaning about strategy, that's what they want. You can't get that from this because I think the teams are quite balanced.
Yeah.
These two are quite balanced, I think.
They seem to be anyway.
And,
yeah.
Because they're quite small.
I think they're quite balanced because they're quite simple.
Yeah.
There's not so many variables that you can then abuse, so you can't make it that unbalanced.
But I've got what I would equate to an AOS experience in a fraction of the time, both in preparation and painting time and actual game time. So I do recommend it. I can't wait to play more, and I have reservations, but I think for the actual sheer enjoyment of just playing the game, my reservations are, I have them, but they're not going to stop me from playing. And I feel like we may have touched on this before. If you're a sort of person who likes an in-depth campaign system, probably most games aren't going to have it, and you're going to create your own.
But you probably want to go to role-playing then.
Yeah, exactly.
RPGs and stuff like that.
You're going to end up creating your own, and there's no point in Games Workshop spending ages working out an intricate campaign system for which, frankly, they can't sell models for.
No.
So they're not going to do that.
And a large proportion of people aren't going to want.
Aren't going to want it, and if the ones that do want it, it isn't going to be right, and so they're going to change it anyway. So they might as well. I reckon it won't be very long. 6 months they'll be on the Warcry community, which I think is really lovely. Just like the Underworlds one, it seems to be really great. Lots of people are really excited about the game. There's just going to be loads of homebrew campaigns which you can pick up if you want to, and that's what's brilliant about this game. And I think, again, it makes it more accessible. It's more accessible than iOS. I mean, there's lots of great homebrew iOS, but this, if somebody wrote a really interesting campaign, we'd definitely pick it up, I think. We would certainly consider picking it up and fitting it with the schedule.
Exactly.
We would do it because it's easy to do.
Yeah, I could see you could create a easy hex-based map system with this, and then we could dot all the warbands around in various places, and then you can expand.
Put monoliths on them.
Exactly, all that, and you could do that. So you could definitely do that much easier with this kind of game because it's simple to start with.
Can we get one of those slidey tables?
Yes, we can. With the ones the crap dealers have.
Yeah.
With the crap dealers are pushing things around, that kind of thing.
I'm not sure again what a crap dealer is. That doesn't sound.
Do you know what a crap dealer is? Much better than a crap dealer.
Oh, crap dealer. Sorry.
So I think overall this gets the AOS seal of approval so far. We're both pretty happy with it. It plays quick, it plays simple, it's a nice, easy game to pick up, and it's what I think a lot of people are terming these days like beer and pretzels game. It's a nice, easy game to play without a lot of head pain.
No, I mean, you can play a game of this in an evening really easily, and probably once you're familiar with it too. I mean, we played 2 games in our first session.
It did take us a little while, but although the second game was noticeably faster than the first.
Because I think that was part of the campaign. Our third game, which hasn't gone out yet, it took a bit longer. It was a full 4.
It was a full 4 activations or 4 turns.
And the nature of the campaign was that it wasn't so much about hacking and slashing, so there was a bit more occasionally running about.
Yes, I did debate early on in that game whether to just stand there to speed things up, but I thought, no, actually, I do want to try and win this, so I do need to start running away, and so there was a bit more cat and mouse going on in that one.
I enjoyed it, and I think what would be really interesting to do will be to see how these games balance out with the other warbands, and just things like people have put the cards online. Is it Daughters of Cain, which is a warband I'm not in the slightest bit interested. Never been interested in those models. Not my sort of thing at all. But actually, I was looking at the cards, thinking, oh, that would be an interesting gaming experience because
they've got much faster movement.
But the game experience, I think, is much more evident. And I'm rambling on again, but it's much more evident. You look at the cards, and you can see what your gaming experience is. When you look at an AOS. The miniatures, you can't really do. You can probably find some of the war scrolls online. You can't look in the battle tome. No idea what they do, and you've got to get about a gajillion figures, spend a gajillion pounds to put an army on the table. This is like,
I'm sure people are listening right now go, no, you don't have to, because you can just buy one unit and you're ready to play. It's like, yeah, but it's going to be a shit game.
Yeah, exactly. And we've played. So
we have. Yes,
it's a long time ago, but we do know, and I know people love it, and I'm not trying to take it away from that. But for me, in my position, I haven't got the time, and I haven't got the money, and I haven't got the energy to to play
and the
that.
space, because
And
you need such a space, and this is all on their little board, which is I can't remember 20 odd by 30 odd inches, so it's a nice compact gaming area. It just plays really well. So
I really love that we could just look at this and think, right, okay, well these guys do this and that, and I could see immediately the Daughters of Cain actually put a really different game experience to the Iron Golem. So actually, if I want a different game experience, I can go and put that together, throw it on the table. And also, similarly, if anybody maybe down the line, if Patreoners in particular want to come and join in, they can just bring their warband and we can play. A bit like we did with Simon and Underworlds. It's really quick and easy just to add extra people in if we want to do that down the line.
Much less of a headache.
Yeah.
So we are definitely looking forward to seeing what else they're going to bring out for this. If you want a complex game with a lot of rules and a lot of army building, I don't think this game is for you. You might not like it. If you want a quick game that you can play in an hour or so in a smaller area with a small footprint of models and time, definitely give this a look, I think.
Absolutely. As Sam Pearson said on the Stormcast podcast, you can play it in Bugman's.
You can,
actually, I think it'd be really fun to play in Bugman's.
Well, we've been there. We were going to play. We were going to play in Bugman's when we went to the Underworlds tournament, and I could definitely see the only problem you'd have with this would be terrain.
Yeah, there's a lot to carry about.
Although I suppose if you go to Warhammer World, you'd be able to go and actually use the terrain from one of the tables and just put it on a board. So so it wouldn't be so bad.
Oh, I think so. They mind. I'll borrow your terrain. Not in the middle of a game.
Well, as long as you don't take that piece,
because
it's got my uncle.
Oh, I need an ogre.
Oh, thank you very much. So that's our rambly, brief run, not so brief rundown of everything.
Not so brief.
There's the plus sides are it's a nice, short, easy, quick, simple, down-to-earth game to play, and there's not too many things to have to think about in it, which when you get to a certain point in your life, you don't want to have to think too much about some things. It's definitely a step up from Underworlds, but it's definitely not your AOS or your Kill Team or your 40k.
When you say a step up, sorry, what do you mean by a step up?
It's a step up in that you've got more terrain, more models.
So just the actual...
It brings you onto more of a tabletop war game rather than a board game.
Yeah, okay.
But it's not a massive leap.
No, I would say probably cerebrally it's an easier game than Underworlds. That's what, especially where Underworlds is now with the deck building area.
Yes.
This is actually easier to more easily accessible.
The challenge here lies in the model making and the terrain.
Yeah.
But then the actual
there was one thing
itself.
I was going to say is it'll be interesting to see. I know I've rambled on and on already, but Kill Team very quickly bloated beyond
for us, beyond being able to track it because we didn't have any 40k really.
No, and there's just so much stuff, and they brought out new set after new set.
Yeah.
And Underworlds, I love Underworlds, I really enjoyed it, but I feel like the rate of expansion is too great there.
Yeah.
It's new warband after new warband, new card after new card. You're looking at a massive overhead for getting into the game now at the moment. They may change that because Season 3's on its way and things are going to change. I know they will. But this, the way it looks at the moment, is literally find somebody with a core set or split a core set with a mate, maybe pick up another warband, maybe use your existing AOS and just play it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't look to have any other overhead, so I'll be quite interested to see over the next 6 to 12 months what they do, because Games Workshop, obviously they want to make money.
They want to keep pumping out
but
stuff.
I hope it doesn't expand at too fast a rate. It's fine if they keep bringing out warbands because you can buy or not buy those.
Yes.
But it kind of, they bring out these big sets and then
when they bring out something that impacts all the warbands, like with Kill Team, they brought out the elites.
Yeah.
And they brought out like the leaders and stuff like that.
It starts just to get...
It's another book and another box and all that kind of stuff. But we'll see. We don't know where this is going to go, but at the minute it does look like it's not going to go that way because it's not as complex as those. No. So I'm hoping they keep it nice and small. It's almost a bit like Blood Bowl in some ways, in that you buy a team and that's it. You've got a team.
Actually, it's a very good analogy. There's no scenery, but actually, it's, I would say Blood Bowl is a very good comparison.
Yeah, you can buy a team and you can buy a couple of extra star players, but people don't generally use star players that much these days. Mm-hmm. So you can buy a team. You might have to buy an extra pack of models to boost your team out a bit, but that's it.
But if you don't, you can equally still have a good game.
Exactly. Yeah. So anyway, hopefully you've stuck around to the end of that one. Hopefully we've answered some questions you may or may not have about the game or what you're feeling about it. Do let us know in the comments below how you're feeling about the game. If you've played a few games, let us know what you think. If you haven't yet, but you're interested to find out any certain aspects of it and we might be able to answer, do ask those in the questions below. Yeah, we'll do our best to answer any questions, and if you've got any suggestions for more Warcry content, what you'd like to see over the coming weeks and months, then we our schedule, well, we've got the summer holidays coming up, but our schedule is reasonably clear, so we can
try and tailor the Warcry content to what people want. So do let us know.
Yes, and if there's anything in particular about our battle reports you do or don't like, then do let us know that as well, and we can see
The
what we can do
presenters,
on
they
that
suck.
Yeah, can't do much about that, I'm afraid. So we shall see you soon in the All Points. Bye!